My husband's boss called me into his office, looking uncomfortable. "I have a confession," he said, sliding a flash drive into my hands. I opened it and stared in shock, videos of my husband sneaking around with another woman. I took a deep breath, smirked, and said, "Guess you'll be needing a replacement soon. He's about to be job hunting." I never thought my life would take such a turn. I'm still trying to process everything, but I need to share this with someone. My husband, Mark, and I have been married for 8 years. We live in Atlanta, Georgia, where I work at the Atlanta Central Library, and he holds a position at a tech firm located in the Coda building in Midtown. Our marriage had its typical ups and downs, but I believed we were solid. That belief was shattered last week. It was a typical Thursday afternoon. I had just finished my shift at the library and was preparing to head home when I received an unexpected call from Mark's boss, Mr. Harris. We had only met a few times at company events, so his call was surprising. "Hello, is this Sarah?" he asked, his voice sounding unusually hesitant. "Yes, this is she," I replied, curiosity piqued. "Could you come by my office this afternoon? There's something important we need to discuss regarding Mark." My heart skipped a beat. Was Mark in some kind of trouble at work? I agreed and quickly gathered my things, my mind racing with possibilities. The Coda building is an impressive structure, a hub of innovation and technology. As I entered, the modern design and bustling atmosphere did little to calm my nerves. I made my way to the receptionist, a young woman with a warm smile. "Hi, I'm Sarah Thompson. Mr. Harris is expecting me." "Of course, Mrs. Thompson. His office is on the 10th floor, room 1012, she responded, gesturing toward the elevators. The ride-up felt interminable. When I reached his office, I knocked softly. "Come in," came the muffled response. Mr. Harris was seated behind a sleek desk, his expression serious. He stood as I entered, offering a handshake. "Please have a seat," he said, motioning to the chair opposite him. I sat down, clutching my purse tightly. "Mrs. Thompson, I want to preface this by saying that this is incredibly difficult for me," he began, avoiding eye contact. "But I believe you have the right to know." He opened a drawer and pulled out a small flash drive, placing it on the desk between us. "What's this?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Please take it home and watch the contents. It will explain more than I can at this moment." Confused and anxious, I took the flash drive and left his office. The drive home was a blur, my mind racing with worst-case scenarios. Once home, I went straight to our bedroom, plugged the flash drive into my laptop, and opened the only folder it contained, labeled Mark. Inside were several video files. With a deep breath, I clicked on the first one. The video showed Mark entering a hotel room with a woman I didn't recognize. They were laughing, touching, intimate. My stomach churned as I clicked on the next video, then the next. Each one was a dagger to my heart, showing Mark with the same woman in different settings, bars, restaurants, even in our home while I was at work. Tears streamed down my face as betrayal washed over me. The man I had trusted, the man I loved, had been leading a double life. I didn't sleep that night. Anger, sadness, and confusion battled within me. By morning, anger had won. I wasn't going to let Mark's deceit define me. I decided to confront him at work. I dressed carefully, choosing a navy blue blazer and matching skirt, professional yet commanding. As I arrived at the Coda building, I felt a surge of determination. The receptionist looked up in surprise. "Mrs. Thompson, back again?" "Yes, I'd like to see Mark, please." She hesitated but then nodded. "He's in his office. Go ahead." I walked down the corridor, my heels clicking with purpose. Reaching Mark's office, I didn't bother knocking. I pushed the door open and stepped inside. Mark looked up from his computer, surprise, and then concern flashing across his face. "Sarah? What are you doing here?" I closed the door behind me, pulling the flash drive from my purse and holding it up. "Care to explain this?" His face paled. "Where did you get that? Does it matter?" I retorted, my voice cold. "I watched them, Mark. All of them." He stood, reaching out as if to comfort me. I can explain. I stepped back, avoiding his touch. Don't. Just don't. The door suddenly opened, and Mr. Harris stepped in. Is everything all right? I turned to him, a smirk playing on my lips. I was just informing Mark that he'll soon have plenty of free time. He'll need it for job hunting. Mark's eyes widened. Wait, what? Mr. Harris crossed his arms. Mark, we need to discuss your position here. Please come with me. After I left Mark's office, I didn't go straight home. I sat in my car in the parking garage for a long time, just staring at the steering wheel. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from adrenaline, from betrayal, from the weight of everything I had just done. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. We need to talk. Please. I didn't answer. I already knew who it was, Mark. I put the phone face down on the passenger seat and started the engine. A few days passed. I hadn't seen Mark since the confrontation. I assumed he was staying somewhere else. Part of me hoped he was holed up in a cheap motel feeling miserable. I stayed quiet, kept to myself, went to work like normal. But nothing felt normal. That's when things started to shift again. It started with the strange calls. Private numbers. Silent on the other end. Always late at night. Then, I started noticing the same gray car parked across the street from my house at odd hours. Not a neighbor. It never pulled into a driveway. It would just sit there. Sometimes for an hour. Sometimes longer. I mentioned it to a coworker during our lunch break at the library. You should report that, she said. That's creepy as hell. I nodded but didn't. I didn't want to believe it was something serious. But then, I came home one night and my front door was slightly open. I stopped on the porch, heart pounding. I knew I locked it. I always locked it. I called the police. They came quickly. They went inside, checked everything. Nothing was missing. Nothing was broken. But someone had definitely been in there. Are you going through anything right now that might make someone upset with you? The officer asked gently. I almost laughed. You have no idea. Later that night, I called Mr. Harris. I needed to know what he knew. He picked up on the first ring. Sarah, why did you give me that flash drive? I asked, my voice firm. How did you even get those videos? There was silence for a few seconds. I shouldn't have, he said finally. But I couldn't let it go on. You didn't deserve that. That doesn't answer the question. He sighed. Your husband was under investigation. Internally. We had reports of inappropriate relationships, possible misuse of company funds. HR started looking into it. That woman in the videos? She wasn't just anyone. My stomach twisted. Who was she? Her name is Alina. She was a client. Big account. Very high profile. The kind of client we don't screw around with. I said nothing, waiting. She's also married. And let's just say, her husband doesn't take betrayal lightly. He's a powerful man. Not someone you want to piss off. My throat tightened. What are you saying? I'm saying, this might not be just a cheating story anymore. Your husband's mess runs deeper than you know. The next morning, I woke up to pounding on my door. It was Mark. Unshaven, tired, and desperate looking. Sarah, please. I need to talk to you. Just give me 5 minutes. I didn't want to, but something about his face told me I had to hear what he had to say. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. You ruined me, he said, voice low, shaking. I lost everything. My job, my reputation. Do you know what you've done? I stared at him. No. You did that. I just showed them who you really were. He ran a hand through his messy hair. You don't get it. That woman, Alina, she's not who you think. Her husband found out. He blames me. But now? He's coming after both of us. I stepped back. What do you mean both of us? They think you were in on it. That you're going to leak things. There are files, emails, conversations. You weren't supposed to see any of it. My blood ran cold. I thought I was just exposing a cheater, I whispered. No, he said. You exposed a whole web of secrets. And now we're both targets. That night, I noticed the gray car again, still parked across the street. But this time, there was someone standing next to it, staring at my house. Not moving, just watching. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the living room with all the lights off, peeking through the curtain, watching that figure by the car. They didn't move for hours, just stood there. At some point around 3 a.m., they finally got into the car and drove off, slow and quiet. No headlights. The next morning, I filed a police report. This time, I insisted. I gave them the make and model of the car, gray BMW, tinted windows, dent on the rear bumper. The officer took notes, but didn't seem too optimistic. "You sure you don't know who'd be doing this?" he asked again. I shook my head. I didn't want to involve Mark. Not yet. Later that day, I got an email from an anonymous Proton Mail address subject. "Stop looking. Message. This doesn't concern you. Delete the flash drive and forget what you saw. Last warning." I sat frozen for several minutes. I hadn't even told anyone else about the flash drive. Only Mr. Harris and me had ever touched it. Unless someone was watching me before I even knew it. I called Mr. Harris again. He answered, but this time his voice was different. Lower. Nervous. "I can't talk long," he said. "I made a mistake giving that to you. You need to destroy it. Now." "What the hell is on it?" I asked. He paused. "Things that could bring down people bigger than you or me." "You think it's just a cheating scandal?" "No. It's about corporate fraud, political donations, private deals. That woman, Alina, wasn't just a client. She was a fixer. For people with a lot of money to hide." "Why didn't you tell me this before?" I whispered. "I didn't think you'd actually look through everything," he muttered. That's when I realized I hadn't. I only watched the videos of Mark. There were other files. Folders I hadn't even opened yet. That night, I opened them. There were PDFs, legal contracts, offshore banking records, photos of documents laid out on desks. And emails. Hundreds of them. Some from Mark's company email. Others from encrypted addresses. Most of them had one name that kept popping up over and over. Harlan Vesey. A name I didn't recognize at first. So I Googled it. Turns out Harlan Vesey was a major real estate mogul in Atlanta. Owned half the buildings in Midtown. Sat on boards. Donated to campaigns. One of those men who didn't appear in gossip mags, but was always shaking hands with politicians in the background. And according to the emails, he was involved in a money laundering operation disguised through real estate deals. And Mark? He had been the middleman. The guy pushing through the fake tech contracts to make it look like his company was selling software when it was really just moving money. I was sick to my stomach. That same night, someone broke into my garage. They didn't take anything. They didn't even break the lock. They left something instead. A manila envelope taped to my windshield. Inside, a single photo. Me, sitting at my laptop, looking at the screen. Someone had taken it from outside my house. I ran to the curtains and looked out. No one there. But I knew someone had been watching me from the dark. I called Mark. Screamed at him. "Why didn't you tell me any of this?" He didn't yell back. He just said, "Because I knew what they'd do to me if I did. But now you're in it." "We both are." "You used me," I spat. "I tried to protect you." "No, you didn't," I said. "You just didn't want to go down alone." He hung up. The next morning, I got a knock on my door. Two men in suits. Identical expressions. Polite smiles. Government ID. They said they were from the FBI. They knew about the videos. They knew about the files. They said I wasn't in trouble yet. But they wanted to talk. They asked if I still had the flash drive. I hesitated. Before I could answer, one of them said, "We're not the only ones looking for it." I let them in. And that's when everything got even worse. They told me Harlan Vesey was already under investigation, but it was a slow process. Too many people in power protected him. But the flash drive? That was hard evidence. Tied to my husband's access. And my name was now in the middle of it. They warned me. I'd be watched. I'd be followed. Vessie's people didn't play by rules. Do not leave town. Do not give copies of the drive to anyone. Do not speak to your husband again. They left me with a card and a single instruction: keep your head down. But I couldn't. Not now. Not after what I saw in the last folder. It wasn't about money anymore. It was about someone who disappeared. A woman. A name I didn't recognize: Talia Mendez. A former assistant. Fired 2 years ago. Worked under Alina. And just vanished. No obituary. No missing persons report. Nothing. And then I found an email, buried deep in Mark's inbox. From Alina. If she talks, we're all screwed. Take care of it. Take care of it. Suddenly, this wasn't just about cheating or betrayal or even fraud. This was about someone who might be dead. And I had just opened the door to something much darker than I ever imagined. The more I dug, the darker it got. The name Talia Mendez haunted me. I kept picturing her face, though I didn't even know what she looked like. But I had this feeling deep in my chest that she had been like me. Someone who saw too much and trusted the wrong people. I printed out every file, every email, and stashed them in 3 separate locations. One in a locker at the public library, one in my cousin's garage, and one in the back of my car under the spare tire. Paranoia? Maybe. But something told me this wouldn't end quietly. And I was right. A week after the feds showed up, I was invited to a company dinner. Not by Mark, by Mr. Harris. It was a last-minute, barely explained invitation. The email said it was a donor appreciation night, casual dress, open bar. I knew it wasn't just about donors. I almost didn't go, but I had a gut feeling this was it. Something was going to happen. So I went. The event was held at a rooftop venue in Midtown Atlanta. Fancy view, string lights, soft jazz in the background. But under all that polish, the tension was thick. People were whispering. Faces I'd seen only in email chains were now across the room sipping wine. And then I saw him. Harlan Vesey. He was real. Tall. Silver hair. Navy suit, red tie. The kind of face that smiled too wide, like he was used to people fearing him. I watched him shake hands, pose for photos, throw back a glass of whiskey like it was water. And then I saw Alina. She was right beside him. She looked right at me. Smiled. Like she knew exactly who I was. I made my way to the back of the room, heart racing. I found Mr. Harris near the catering table. You said this was about donors, I whispered. He didn't look at me. You shouldn't have come. Why invite me then? I didn't. He turned and walked away. That's when I realized I was being watched. Alina came up behind me, calm, cold. I think we need to have a conversation, she said, her voice soft like honey. I followed her to a quiet side balcony. It overlooked the city lights. Beautiful and sharp. She lit a cigarette and looked me over. You've been very busy, she said. You're scared, I replied. She laughed. Not of you. You should be. Her smile faltered just a bit. Do you think you're the first woman who got played by her husband and thought she found some grand conspiracy? I have files. Emails. I know what happened to Talia. Alina's eyes flashed. She took a long drag of her cigarette. You don't know anything. I stepped closer. I know she didn't just disappear. I know you told someone to take care of it. And I know Mark was involved. Alina didn't flinch. Your husband was a pawn. He was disposable. You're even less than that. That's when Mark stepped onto the balcony. I didn't know he was even there. His eyes met mine, and I saw it: guilt, shame, fear. But mostly fear. Sarah, he said, voice trembling. You have to stop. You're going to get yourself killed. Alina chuckled and flicked her cigarette over the railing. I told you she wouldn't listen, she said to him. That's when the screaming started. Inside the room, Mr. Harris came running out, face pale. Someone just leaked the drive, he said, gasping. To the press. To the feds. It's all over. Alina went still. Mark turned to me. What did you do? I sent it, I said quietly. Last night. Anonymous tip. Every file. Every email. Every video. Silence. Alina stepped forward, her mask breaking. You don't know who you've just crossed. I know enough, I said. The next moments were chaos. Phones buzzing, people running. Vesey stormed out, shouting at someone over the phone. Alina disappeared into a black car downstairs. Mr. Harris looked like he was about to vomit. And Mark? He just stood there. Why didn't you tell me everything from the beginning? I asked, tears finally burning my eyes. He didn't answer. He didn't have an answer. I tried to fix it, he whispered. I was in too deep. You dragged me into this, I snapped. You didn't just break my heart. You endangered my life. He collapsed into a patio chair and buried his face in his hands. A few days later, it was everywhere. FBI raids. Subpoenas. News stories connecting Harlan Vesey to everything from embezzlement to disappearance of witnesses. Alina's name was in the headlines. Her face splashed across every screen. She fled the country. A warrant was issued. And Mark? He was arrested. Wire fraud. Conspiracy. Obstruction. He agreed to cooperate in exchange for a lighter sentence. But I knew what that meant. He wouldn't be coming home. I didn't go to the court hearing. I sat in the library, reading the news on my laptop like any other stranger might. People treated me differently. Some looked at me like I was brave. Others whispered behind my back, wondering how I didn't know. My cousin offered me a room in her house for a while. My coworker brought me tea and asked if I wanted to talk. I didn't. I just needed space. Looking back, the affair wasn't the worst part. The worst part was realizing how long he'd been lying. Not just about the other woman, but about everything. The man I shared a bed with, ate dinner with, laughed with. He wasn't real. He was a front. A mask. A shell filled with secrets and fake smiles. I kept wondering if any of it was real. The way he looked at me on our wedding day. The way he held me when I cried. The way he said, I'll always protect you. Maybe he believed it. But it doesn't matter anymore. I'm not the same woman who begged him for answers. Now, I keep the lights on at night. I double-lock the door. I check the back seat before I drive anywhere. I walk a little taller, too. Because I didn't just survive a cheating scandal. I survived a web of corruption and silence and power. And I broke it. Was it worth it? I don't know yet. But I do know this. Sometimes the truth doesn't set you free. Sometimes it scorches the earth and leaves you standing in the ashes. But at least you know who you are when the fire burns out. And me? I'm still standing.